Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this morning's webinar. For those of you who've not met me before, I'm Marie Cheng and I'm the Partnerships Manager here at My HR Toolkit. If you have joined us before, you'd know that we do a lot of different webinars on lots of different topics, all on lots of different topics since the start of the year. But today we are having a bit of a look at our performance management update. So with lockdown, obviously remote working, it's especially important that everyone is having a chance to stay connected with their employees, thinking about how to keep them engaged and motivated. You will have hopefully received an email to see that we've got a number of updates and changes to our My HR Toolkit performance management module that will help you to do this. So today we're just going to be going through some of those changes. So I'm joined by Chris, who will be spending about 15-20 minutes covering the main part of the content. And then at the end, we will have some time to answer any of your questions. In terms of a bit of housekeeping, there is a Q&A box at the bottom of your screens. Hopefully it's been in your footer. Please do feel free to add any questions as we go along. We will come to them at the end. There's also a chat box to get involved in the chat. So you will see that I've put in the message there, and also Camille's put a message there as well. But please, if we could ask you to ask your questions in the Q&A box, just so that we don't miss them. There's quite a lot of people on the webinar this morning. So here this morning to go through performance management is Chris from our sales team, and I'll let Chris introduce himself. So over to you, Chris, and I'll let you share your screen as well.
Okay, thanks for the introduction, Marie, and welcome everybody to today's session. So I'm sure some of you will be a combination of existing toolkit users and resellers who are familiar with the platform already, including the previous appraisals area of the toolkit. Now, today's webinar will be focused on guiding you through the new performance management area of the toolkit. Now, as you can see here, there are some introduction videos available on the performance management home screen for you to view and familiarize yourself with following on from today's session if you have not done so already. Now, the areas we're going to cover on today's session are configure meeting types. So we're going to be looking at configuring your meeting types. So these are the type of performance meetings that you have in your organization. We're then going to be having a look at meeting schedule. So how to schedule meetings. I mean, essentially, this is where you can match people to meetings. We'll then be taking a look at my meetings as a manager. So this shows your meetings as a performance manager. Then finally, we're going to take a look at the previous meeting records area. Now, essentially, this is your complete archive of all previously completed performance meetings. Okay, so let's begin with configure meeting types. So this is your starting point, and this is where you can set up the type of performance meetings that you have in your organization. Now, for some of you with previous experience of a toolkit, this area is previously known as appraisal profiles. Any previous appraisal profiles that you had set up will have been migrated over to this area already. Now, this area is purely looking at the type of meetings, purely looking at meeting types, and the type of meetings displayed here are not linked to a manager or a controller as they were previously. Okay, so from this page, you can view the meeting types that you have already set up in your toolkit. And if I go to the top right, if you click on the add a meeting type here, you can actually add to your existing portfolio of meeting times that you have. Okay, so I'm just going to walk you through this to just show you how easy it is to add a new meeting type in. So let's say we want to add a new performance meeting. We're going to add in a monthly review. So you start by adding the name in there. Now, when you're configuring the meeting type, you've got your name in, you're then going to decide on the documentation that's associated with that meeting type. So there's three different types of documents. You've got employee documents, manager documents, and template documents. So your employee documents, these may include kind of guidance from an employee. It's only going to be visible to the employee and how they're going to prepare for the meeting. Your manager documents, these will probably include guidance on how, as a performance manager, they're going to perform that type of meeting. And your template documents, they're really geared up towards kind of your more formal completion documents that you're going to submit following the end of that performance meeting. So very, very, very straightforward. If you want to add a document type in, so say you want to add an employee document, you click here, you select the file from your computer. Okay, and then you add that meeting type in, and that will just confirm, and you can see now that that meeting type has been added into your meeting types. Okay, so once you've added your meeting type, you've then basically got your own list of customizable meeting types to use for the performance meetings that take place in your organization. So these meeting types can be edited. For example, if you click on actions, you can edit and update the content, or they can also be archived if that meeting type is no longer required. So essentially, in your configure meeting types, it's pretty straightforward to get all the meeting types that you have set up. And this really lays the foundation for all the performance meetings that will take place further down the line. Okay, so next we're going to take a look at the meeting schedule area. So this screen allows you to view and schedule meetings for your staff. This is basically where you can match people to meetings. So some of you will notice this area also looks similar to the previous appraisal tasks area of the toolkit. Okay, so to add a new future meeting, you simply navigate to the top right and you click on the add future meeting. And now with this new wizard, you can actually get your new meeting set up in 4 very simple steps. So we'll start with step 1. It's just going to simply ask you to enter the name of the employee for that meeting. So enter the name in using the handy search option, select the correct employee, click on next to take you through to step 2. Now, it's then a case of setting your performance manager or managers for this meeting. So let's say for this example, there's going to be 2 performance managers present for this meeting. So click on the first one, use the search box again, click on the second one. Now, once you're happy with your selection, so we've selected the employee, we've selected the 2 performance managers here for that meeting. Once you're happy with your selection, you click on next to go through to step 3. So once you've got the employee, the performance managers, it's then a case of setting up that schedule for the meeting. So your starting point is going to bring you up a list of all the meeting types that you have. Obviously, you've configured those right back in the first stage, like I showed you. So for this one, we're going to select an annual review. Then it's a case of selecting your repetition for that meeting. So does this meeting repeat? Yes, it does. We want this meeting to repeat on an annual basis. So frequency, you've got your options here. We're going to change that to annual. Now, indefinitely. So if you've got indefinitely selected, this meeting, this future schedule of meetings is just going to reoccur until the point where the employee leaves the organization. So if you want that to be the case, you put yes. Perhaps you just want this particular run of meetings that you've got to have a set number of times. So you can enter in the number there. You can also toggle up and down as well using the arrows. Okay, so the next thing you're going to do, you're going to set the actual date for the meeting. Okay, so for this one, we're going to select July. That's when the annual review is going to take place. So we're going to go for the first Monday in July. Now, once you've set your meeting type, your repetition, and the actual date where that meeting is going to take place, you can then decide on the reminders for the performance managers that are due to attend that meeting. Now, I typically go for 1 day, 1 week, or 1 month, but you're free to choose any reminder frequencies that you want, so they can be updated and notified ahead of that performance management meeting so they can prepare accordingly. Now, you could also decide who else you want to receive a notification, whether that be line managers or controllers. So why would you want a line manager to receive a notification? Well, it might be for not all the performance meetings that you have, they are necessarily conducted by the line manager. You might have somebody who's responsible for a performance meeting, but the line manager's not present, but you still want them to be notified of when that meeting is taking place. So if that's the case, click on line manager, click on next. And then for all the information that you've entered, you're going to get a really handy quick summary of the future meeting. So you have a quick scan over, check all the details. And once you're happy, you just click on add future meetings, and that meeting is going to be added to your schedule. Okay, so once you have added a meeting, you can then view all the future meetings here, and you've got your filters, and these filters, you're going to see these on the next 3 pages as well. So there'll be a familiar part to you, and it will help you to filter and sort the information which is displayed. So you can toggle the number of entries which are displayed on the screen, and you can filter down by location, department, or job title, or you can use the search function if you need to narrow your selection accordingly. Now you can also use the sort feature by date. This is great. For example, if you want to see the next set of performance meetings that have been scheduled, you could also see any of the performance meetings which are overdue because they're highlighted in red. From this page as well, so once you set your meeting schedule up, you can view any of the guidance documents like I showed you previously by clicking on the link here. And actually, you can, at this stage, you can upload any completion documents or completion notes to that meeting. Now, there's also an option for you via the actions column to perform some further actions for each meeting in the schedule. So let's just pull up an example here. So if you need to update after the meeting's been set, if you need to change the managers for the meeting schedule, you can do that. If you need to stop the recurrence, and we'll talk about that in a bit more detail shortly, you can also delete the meeting. So if it's just a case of one meeting within the schedule, you can delete that, or you can delete all meetings as part of this schedule. And there's also an option to view that summary of the schedule as well at the bottom. Now, I mentioned about stopping the recurrence. This option removes future incomplete meetings from the schedule, but still retains any completed meetings that are in the schedule. So this is a great option, for example, if an employee has moved team or department and they need to be moved to a new meeting schedule. Okay, so now we're going to look at my meetings as a manager area. Now this screen shows the performance manager and their upcoming meetings. As you will notice, I'll just click on that one to get the due date. As you will notice, the ones in red are being displayed here as overdue. Now, again, following on from the previous page, you've got the familiar filter sections here to narrow down your selection. You've got the sort function as well to sort it by due date, so you can do both in chronological order. Now, this page is really geared up to you as a performance manager. So as a performance manager, you're responsible for conducting and completing meetings for a particular meeting schedule. This section provides you the tools that you need to achieve that by adding any completion documents. So if you've got a completion document to add, you click on there. Very, very, very straightforward. If you want to upload a completion document that you've saved, select the file from your computer, update the document. Okay, now you can see that completion document's updated. The same for any completion notes. So once you've got some completion notes, there we go. Add that note in there. Click close, and you can see that note's there. Now, a new feature on here is that you as the performance manager, you can actually set a grade based on the meeting that you've just had. So if we click on grade, it allows you to select a rating out of 5 stars. There we go. So once you've made your selection, click on set grade. And once you're finished, so as the performance manager, that meeting's taken place, you've uploaded any completion documents associated with that meeting, you've uploaded any of the completion notes, you've marked the grade, you can simply click on actions and mark that meeting as complete. Okay, now the next area that I'm going to show you is previous meeting records. Now this screen shows you a complete archive, if you like, of all the completed performance meetings, including documents, notes and grades, which have been completed by a performance manager. Again, you'll notice the now familiar filter and sort options which are available, so you can narrow your selection any further. This is good because this is consistent with all the different parts of the performance management module. You can also, at this stage, you can also add any additional information related to a performance meeting after it's been completed. So if there's any documents or notes that you want to add afterwards, you can upload them to the completion documents or notes area, and you can also adjust the grade as well. Okay, now the new addition to this area, once you've marked as a performance meeting as complete as your meetings as a manager section, it's going to come through in this stage as complete. That's why it's displayed in the previous meeting records. But if you click on actions for any reason and it's not complete, you can actually undo that completion via the actions button. Okay, so most of what we've been through so far relates to the more kind of formal performance meetings that you have in the organization. However, there is a smart tool available in this previous meeting record section that will basically allow you to capture any ad hoc or previous meetings that have taken place. So by clicking here on the top right to add a previous meeting record, you'll be able to add quickly upload any ad hoc or previous meetings to the toolkit. Now, these previous meeting records, they don't have to conform to any of the meeting types that you've set up previously, and you could upload a previous meeting type in a very few quick and simple and easy steps. So I'm just going to show you an example. So say you've had a bit of an ad hoc conversation with a colleague in the office. It doesn't necessarily conform to one of your more formal meeting types that you've had, but you still want to document and record that in a toolkit. You simply enter in the employee's name using the quick search, select the correct employee, click on next, and then you've got the option to upload the meeting document. Okay, so we click on there, add that previous meeting record, and that's uploaded to the toolkit. And now you'll notice that this has come through because it's not associated with one of the performance meeting types that you've configured previously. This comes up as a meeting that has no associated meeting type with it. We've obviously uploaded the document as part of this, but you can then go in and add any further notes here and mark the grade accordingly. Okay, so just a bit of a recap on today's session to see what we've looked at. So we've looked at how you configure your meeting types. We've looked at how to view and amend your meeting schedule. We've also looked at how to view your meetings as a performance manager. And then finally, in the previous meeting records, we've looked at the complete archive of all the previously completed performance meetings and how to add a previous meeting record. So this is all now live in your toolkit and operates in a very similar way to the previous appraisals feature. Now, if you require any further guidance after today's session, then a great starting place, just to mention again, are the new performance management overview videos here, which are available in the performance management area within your very own toolkit. There's also a full suite of online support guides available via the orange question mark button to guide you through the different areas of the new performance module as well. Now that covers the areas for today, and I'd like to thank everybody for their time and for listening. If you need any further support with performance management, then please use the question mark support button here in the top of the page, submit a support ticket. That's going to come through to the team and we'll be happy to help with any questions that you've got. And if you have any further questions today around performance management, then please add those to the Q&A section and we'll look to answer these now. For anyone who we may not get to, please do submit a support ticket and we'll try to respond to you as soon as we can after the webinar. So I'm going to hand you back over to Marie now so we can take a look through some of your questions in the Q&A.
Great, thank you very much, Chris, for taking us through that. Yes, please do feel free to add any questions to the question and answers box. Just conscious, I think I can see some stuff in the chat and Camille might have just messaged. I think if you could put them in the Q&A box, because I think I might accidentally miss them. Okay, let's go through some of these questions. Right, so we've had a couple of questions from Trisha. Can a manager add a meeting type, or is it just the controller who can add the meeting type?
Controllers can add a meeting type. And you can, if within the config area, within the access rights, so a controller can add a meeting type by default. And if you want to assign the access rights accordingly to the manager, you've got the same access rights as you had previously within that section.
Okay, great. A couple of questions, actually, a couple of duplicates actually on, can the meetings be added to calendars such as Outlook?
The performance meetings won't be added to the calendar. The calendar in the toolkit primarily looks at holidays. If you're a manager or controller on there, you'll be able to see other information such as absence, sickness absence and general absence and any training records, but you won't be able to see the performance meetings in the calendar.
Okay, right, let me just quickly scroll down. I'm assuming this is in relation to the meetings. Can you add a specific date or time, or is it only a case of selecting the day of the week?
So let's have a look. So can you add a specific date and time? So this is when you're setting a schedule. You can add the day in keeping with the you can pick the first, second, third or fourth of a particular day within the week or the month and the year, but you can't add a specific time.
Okay, on that basis it's also not a specific date if it's just the second of every month, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, so that's how you're set up. And primarily the reason for that, why one of the reasons why you're not able to select a specific date and time is for typically most people work on a Monday to Friday basis. You can guarantee that the meeting's going to fall within a working day.
Okay, right, there's quite a lot coming in, so 1 second. Do the staff get notified when you add performance meetings, add documents, make any changes? So I'm assuming this is your employee level.
Do staff get notified when you add performance meetings? So yeah, for your employee that's going to be in the performance meeting would be notified, yes.
Okay.
And they'll be notified when a meeting's been set up. And if there's any employee guidance documents, then that'll be their prompt for them to work on and have a look at those guidance documents ahead of the performance meeting.
This was quite early on. Can you filter the list alphabetically by name?
Well, let's try and think of which list. I don't think you can sort in terms of by name. You can sort by date in terms of due date and completion date. If you wanted to sort by name, you can use the filter options. So you can filter down by location and department, or if you just wanted to pull up the details for an individual, you could use the search function. Okay,
right. So you'd have to just search for that person's record. Oh, okay, actually, I think this question's also come up before. Can you clarify what the grade means? So I think this is obviously the rate. I'm assuming it's the rating.
Yeah, so the grade is simply, it allows you to set a grade. So it's marked out of 5 stars, and you can add a grade in different levels of 0.5 increments. And it's basically, if you have a system, this is just the tool that you have available to you where you can set a grade if you do set some kind of some grades for the performance meetings which you have within your organization. It's not mandatory or compulsory, but there's an option there for you to use that tool if you want to.
And I think related to the question on the grades is, can you tailor the grades? So instead of making it out of 5, can you just make it out of 3 for all your clients?
Can you tell? So the grades are fixed. So it's fixed. So it's standard across the board.
Okay, perhaps then I guess just trying to think about a workaround, like you could, in terms of the guidance, if you were talking to your managers about it, you could just say like, don't mark it out of 5, mark it out of 3. And I think the grade, if I'm correct, relates to the meeting itself.
Yes. So yeah, it's basically once you've got your completion documents, your completion notes, once all that's been completed, you would then add that grade in as a kind of a guide or a figure based on that performance meeting.
Okay. Another question on grades. Sorry, I'm having to scroll them to find them. Is that grade visible to the member of staff whom you're obviously having that meeting with?
Yes.
Okay, let's just scroll down. All right, let's go. We'll see if I come back with any more meetings about questions about grades. Read the no associated meeting type. Is there an option to change that title of the meeting to say contract meeting?
No, thanks for your question, Craig. So for this particular one, if it's got no associated meeting type, this will be because it doesn't conform to the actual kind of more formal meeting types that you've set up within your organization. So anything that you upload via the add previous meeting record in the previous meeting record section is just going to show as not associated with a meeting type. There's no option to edit it. If you wanted it to have a particular meeting type, then the best thing to do would be to set that up, configure that meeting type, set that up, and then schedule in a performance management meeting that way.
Okay, right. Sorry. Is there a way of adding a meeting link? So where we have different offices, we use Teams. Can you add a link to the meeting within the area, with the meetings area?
No, that functionality is not available within the performance management module.
Okay. Oh, thanks for helping me. Is the update included in the yes? I can answer this one. Is the update on the performance management included in the usual toolkit user price or additional costs? If it's included, does the update automatically happen, or do we have to manual action? So, I mean, Chris, correct me if I'm wrong. So what will happen now is the fact that performance management has gone live in, I think, a couple of days ago, all the toolkits will now look like this. There's no additional cost. It's just what was, if you were using it before, what was appraisals is now just performance management, and it's just in your system. So
that's exactly right. And any meetings which you had set up using the previous appraisal feature, so any of your kind of appraisal profiles as they were known or appraisal tasks, they're all going to be migrated over into the new performance management module. Sorry, they have been migrated over already.
Yeah, so you should be able to see that in the system. Next question from Lorraine. The video is going to be up there permanently, as far as I understand. Yes.
Yes, to the best of my knowledge, yeah.
I mean, they might imagine after some time, but yes, I mean, they're going to be there at least in the foreseeable. Next question. Where would a manager and employee be able to view all the new meetings once they've happened? And can you set up meetings one at a time rather than recurring?
So where would a manager and employee be able to view all the new meetings once they've happened? So a manager, a performance manager, for example, they'll be able to view the meetings in their My Meetings as a manager. From an employee's point of view, they will be able to view any meetings which they've had via their My Home performance management section. And yeah, you can absolutely set off, not all meetings have to conform to be part of an ongoing schedule. You could set up a meeting that's a one-off meeting with no repetition or recurrence.
Okay, right. This is about the frequency. I think it's quite a question of frequency. So obviously in situations where people's meetings are bi-monthly, fortnightly, whatever it is there going to be, are there options to work around that frequency? Because at the moment, I suppose the options that are there are a little bit rigid, but Chris, maybe you can explain if there's a more tailored way of doing this.
Thanks for your questions. At the moment, there's no plans to change this, and those options are going to carry on as they are available.
Okay. Right. Assume that the employee will also receive a reminder, for example, a week before the meeting, as well as the performance manager.
Yeah, yes, the employer will receive notifications as well.
Okay, I guess you can set up when you want the reminders. And I think we answered this before. Where you've had previous appraisals set up as a recurring function in your toolkit, and obviously with the migration, did these dates still remain in there? They're migrated across.
They should have, to the best of my knowledge, yes, they should have. It might be worth just checking over a few just to confirm that that's the case, but they should have as part of the migration.
Okay. Gosh, this is good. There's quite a lot of questions coming through. How do you access or upload templates for managers to use for the appraisals?
So when you're configuring your meeting types, so when you add, you've got a list of your meeting types already, or existing ones. And if you're adding a new meeting type in, once you've set the name, you've then got 3 options in terms of the guidance documents or templates which you can upload. So you can upload employee guidance documents that only an employee is going to see ahead of the meeting. You can upload any manager guidance documents. So these will typically be guidance on how to perform that meeting as a performance manager. And you've also got the option to upload templates which are going to be visible to both the employee and the performance manager. Those templates would typically be your kind of completion documents that you have as a company. So you would do that when you're configuring your meeting types.
Okay, I hope that answers that. Can you report on performance management? So can you see the people who haven't completed their one-to-ones?
There's not a report that's linked to the meetings at the moment.
This is a question related to the setup, new starter wizard rather. Bronwyn has an appraisal profile that's set up for an annual repeat. Try to set this up when starting up a new starter, but with submit, can you still set this up using a new starter wizard?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Actually, this is something which has actually been flagged up yesterday. So we're aware of this. It's something which is going to be logged and reported and be worked on. So there should be an update on that, in the coming days or week. If you still experience the same issue when you're going through the new employee wizard, you're not able to select that performance meeting, then please get back in touch via the support option. We can have a look and we can give you an update.
Okay, cool. So this is a follow-up to the one around the Outlook. Can the meeting be added to the Outlook calendar? I'm guessing it's a no, because it's not integrated in that way, is it?
That's correct, yeah.
All right, so that's that one. Okay, so Lisa's asked, you've attached a document to the meeting notes. Can you also copy and paste from an email, or would you need to copy paste it into a Word document, save it, and then attach it? And is there an option then to keep that private to the line manager upwards, i.e. the employee doesn't see it, so that's only, or are they all visible to the employee?
So you've attached a document to the meeting notes. Yep. So you can attach a document. Can you also copy and paste from an email? So the email, you could copy and paste that into a Word document, or you could copy and paste it straight into the notes section as well. Is there an option then to keep that private to line manager upwards? They would see, both the employee and the performance manager would see the notes for that meeting. Okay, I think there's a few questions, so I'll come to them in a minute. I think there's a few questions around what can be seen and what can't be seen. Hang on, sorry, let's make my things a bit neater. Siobhan asked, do we have to add each meeting individually, or is there bulk action? You'd have to add the meeting individually going through the wizard. Okay, hopefully that answers that one. Because you're matching people to meetings, you'd have to go through, on an individual basis. Okay, great. Catherine asks, if we added a sickness performance meeting in the meeting type, would other employees be able to view that? If we added a sickness performance meeting in the meeting type, would other employees, so nobody with employee level access would be able to view that. It would only, the people that would be able to view it would be controllers on the toolkit, and any line managers, in addition to the performance manager. Okay, hopefully that's answered that. I assume that the question is related to the fact that because of the title, you can tell it's a sickness performance meeting, and whether you want that visible. I'll let Catherine come back on that one if she needs to. April asks, on the reporting, does the system still report on having clicked the completed button? I.e., is it still possible for managers to have uploaded documents and done meeting, but the report won't show it's done? Sorry, I'm just going to take a moment to have a look at this question. So on reporting, does the system still report on having clicked the completed button? I'm not sure about that one, April. That might be one that we have a look at afterwards and get back to you.
Okay, we'll go back to that one. Okay, sorry, it's this again in relation to a previous question. Just to clarify, so you can't amend no associated meeting type as the title, I think, in the previous meeting records to a meeting type that's just already set up.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I understand. No, that's not possible. If you wanted it to be as part of one of your kind of meeting types that you configured, you'd have to upload the performance meeting through that channel, as opposed to kind of adding it through a previous meeting record.
Right. Okay. Paul asks, can you change a meeting type once it's been scheduled? I.e., if a member of staff has it set up as a 3-month review, but we'd like to change it to a probationary review.
What you would do in that instance, so once you've set up the meeting type, so can you change a meeting type once it's been scheduled? What you would do, you would then stop the future recurrence of that particular meeting type and that schedule, and then you would enroll the member of staff onto the new meeting schedule. So you'd stop the one for a 3-month review, for example, and then you would enroll them on a future recurrence for a probation review.
Okay, so hopefully that answers that question. Claire asked, can you add more than one document for a meeting?
Yes.
Nice and easy. We've always checked which employees have outstanding appraisal meetings. How can we do this going forward?
That's something, the report area, I understand is another area which is currently being looked at in terms of is there going to be a report available which is going to show those outstanding meetings.
Okay. Just also to note, Della, we've seen your message. I think we'll raise a support ticket because I think that's a technical thing around the access. And then another question is, as a controller, I think this is yes, but as a controller, can you see all managers' meetings and documents?
Yeah, so naturally, as a controller on the toolkit, because you're the main administrator, you can access all the different parts of a toolkit and you can see, everybody's file.
Okay. Look at this, still coming in. Jody asked, can you add more than one employee to a meeting, like a group meeting?
That's a good question. I don't think you can, but I'm not sure. It might be worth just having a quick go at trying to do that. I think the way it's set up, that it's set up for individuals, which you can add multiple performance managers, but I think you can only select one individual employee for a meeting.
Okay. Sorry, and this is a clarification. So Paul just clarified that the previous question on changing the meeting type. Sorry, my question in regards to changing meeting types was a non-repeating meeting. Chris, you mentioned that you need to stop the occurrence to change the meeting type. So you need to set up a brand new one.
My question in regards to okay, I see. I'm with you. So it's just a one-off. So yeah, you would just set them off as separate one-off meetings with no recurrence.
All right, hopefully that answers the question. Melody's asked, can you only add PDFs to the template part on a meeting type?
No, you can also add other documents as well, such as Word documents.
Okay, that one. Gosh, with any other questions? That was a record 38 questions. That Chris has been under the spotlight. Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, Paul. Sorry, Paul. Thank you for coming back in. Yeah, if you could submit a support ticket, Paul, we can have a look at that in a bit more detail after the webinar.
Okay, I think, unless I'm wrong and they're going to flood through in a minute, that is all the questions. Obviously, we appreciate that, like, this is going to be new and you're going to be playing around with with the system in the next week or so. So obviously, as Chris has said, raise support tickets, give us a buzz if you have any issues. Obviously, there's a couple of teething problems that we've also noted down in questions just to follow up on. But yeah, please feel free to do that, because also it's quite helpful for us to hear about which questions that you have where. If there aren't any more, I don't think. Thank you, Chris, for going through that. That is a lot of information. We do have a recording, obviously, of the session today and all your questions as well. We will send a follow-up email to everyone, hopefully later today. Otherwise, as I say, please feel free to get in touch with us if you've got any further questions as you're playing around the system. And thank you very much for joining this morning. Thanks, Chris, for that.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Have a good day.